Everyone keeps asking about tech stacks in 2026, but here is the truth that most people avoid saying out loud.
Especially in web development, the stack doesn't matter until it slows you down. I built a full SaaS completely solo developer from A to Z, from planning, designing, developing, and even shipping for the production, and touching almost every part in the web application. From the front end, backend, authentication, database, payments, and AI integrations, and even using the AI to help me ship and build faster. Not just to follow trends, not to chase hype, but actually to build something that people can use daily. And the tools I chose didn't just help me to shape. They shaped how I think, how I design systems, and even how I move fast without breaking everything. This isn't a perfect stack video, it's a practical stack, the kind that lets any solo developer build almost any product or any application you can imagine. Even adapt when things change and keep shipping even in the age of AI. So this is my tech stack for 2026. Make sure to stick at the end of this video because all of these tools I'm going to talk about, it's like kind of having a relationship between them so you don't miss any of them. I will tell you also what tools you have to choose in every part of your development process, what I trust, what you should avoid, and everything else. For a solo developer, everything starts from the front end. If this layer is heavy, everything else feels heavier also. So this is our point to start talking about the front end and its tools, which will help you surely build the perfect application. So without any further ado, let's jump in and talking about the best tools for the front end you can use.
For the front end, I use nextjs with TypeScript, not because it's trendy, but because it removes friction when you are building alone. Routing, data fetching, performance, and SEO are handled in a way that lets you focus on production, not plumbing. TypeScript isn't about being strict, it's about clarity. As the app grows, it becomes a safety net and that protects your future decisions instead of slowing you down. For UI, I use Shadcn UI on the top of Tailwind CSS, not as a component library you are locked into, but as a set of copy-paste fully owned components. That means no magic, no dependency traps, and completely control over styling and behavior. Tailwind keeps everything consistent and fast to change, while Shadcn gives structure without abstractions. This front-end stack matters because it builds momentum. If this layer stays simple and predictable, everything else becomes easier. But a fast front-end means nothing if the logic behind it is fragile. Once the UI is solid, the real challenge begins. How you structure the backend, manage data, and make sure the system doesn't collapse as features grow. For the backend, I focused on one principle: keep complexity proportional to the product. I use Next.js server actions and API routes to keep frontend and backend close together. Not because microservices are bad, but because perimeter separation slows solo developers down. Business logic lives near the UI that uses it, which makes the system easier to reason about and faster to evolve. This setup reduces context switching, simplifies deployment, and keeps the feedback loop tight. When you are building alone, the goal isn't to design the perfect architecture. It's to build something that can change without breaking. A simple, well-structured backend lets you move fast today and still refactor safely when the product actually demands it. But no backend decision really matters until data enter the picture, because once users create records, relationships, and history, your database becomes the backbone of the entire product. For the database, I prioritize flexibility over perfection. As you know, we have like many types of database, and most popular is relation and not relation databases. And for my stack, I always use connected relationships. I use PostgreSQL hosted on Neon because it gives me a production grade database without operational overhead. It scales when needed, sleeps when ideal, and stays out of the way while I'm building. For data access, I use Drizzle ORM. This is an amazing tool. Some of other developers, they use Prisma, but actually I prefer Drizzle for ORM. It's much friendly. Not to abstract SQL away, but to make schema changes explicit and international. The real value isn't typing less code. It's having a clear mental model of your data as the product evolves. Tables change, requirements shift, and features grow in a way you don't predict it on day one. A database setup that's easy to modify, it's more valuable than one that's perfectly designed too early. This layer taught me that good data systems aren't rigid. They are designed to adapt. Once data is in place, the next question becomes trust. Who can access the what, and who is allowed to pay for it? Authentication and payment are two areas where solo developers should avoid being clever. I use Clerk for authentication because it handles the hard parts, security, sessions, edge cases, which without leaking complexity into the rest of the application. It integrates cleanly with Next.js and lets me focus on product logic instead of reinventing identity systems. For payment, I separate concerns. I use Limo Squeezy for international users and subscription, and sometimes I use Stripe also. It's amazing getaway, international payment getaway, and a local payment getaway for users who need to pay in a local currency. For my example, when I based in Algeria and made a product for Algeria users, so I have to use like some of the getaways supported locally, such as Chargely. It's a suitable tool for that case. The goal here isn't elegance, it's reliability. If Auth breaks, users leave. If payment fails, the product doesn't exist. These systems should feel boring because boring systems are the ones you can trust. Once users are authenticated and paying, the real opportunity begins. Using EI, not a feature, but as a leverage. For the EI, I don't treat it as a demo features. I treat it as a leverage. The goal isn't to impress users with EI, it's to remove friction from their work. For example, in my SaaS Sahel work, EI helps generate proposals, contracts, and many other features, and structured content automatically based on a real user data. Behind the scenes, I tested different providers and models, but what matters most wasn't the API. It was control, speed, and cost. That's why I use sometimes OpenAI and sometimes Grok for fast interface and predictable performance. AI works best when it's constrained. Clear inputs, clear outputs, and human review when it matters. When AI is designed as a part of the workflow, not a shortcut, it becomes a tool users actually trust. And without forgetting about the AI tools and the IDEs powered by AI assistants, we can mention here the Claude, Gemini, CLIs, and AI-powered editors like Cursor are incredibly powerful, but only if you already understand what you are building. For beginners, the danger isn't using AI. The danger is skipping the thinking. If you let AI decide structure, logic, and architecture before you understand them, you don't move fast, You just move blindly. For experienced developers, AI is different. It becomes a multiplier. Here is my advice for you. It's simple. Learn to build without AI first, then bring AI in to accelerate what you already understand. AI should help you think better, not think for you. The stack, the tools, and even AI itself don't build products. Clear thinking does. So at the end, what I can say, if there is one thing I have learned building solo, it's this. Your tech stack won't save you, but the wrong one will slow you down. Choose tools that reduce friction, stay out of your way, and adapt as the product grows. AI frameworks and services will keep changing. Clear thinking won't. If you are building alone, focus on understanding first and let tools support that, not replace it. If this helps you think more clearly about your own stack, subscribe if you found this helpful, and I share real lessons from building, not just theory. What part of your stack slows you down the most right now? Front-end, backend, or AI? I'm just curious to hear how others are building. So feel free to comment down, and I will be very happy to reply to you. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video.